Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Any questions? So, we are starting today. We're going to discuss today very important in the sense of practical use topic. So far, we have been studying that we have inclination to see the faults in others. Now, this inclination extends to circumstances and situations too. We can always say that my circumstance is so bad, my situation is so terrible. So we have this whole extroverted version of life, like as if I'm a non-player, as if I don't even exist. Circumstance did something, situation did something, that person did something, that lady is so terrible. We have a very external based explanation for everything. Now, this external based explanation for everything may not stand up to any rational examination. For instance, you can say, oh, it's so sad, I never got any opportunities in life, and therefore, though I'm sort of quite smart, I didn't do that well. You can say that. And in some sense, that can also be true. However, if you think of somebody like Helen Keller, who couldn't see, who couldn't hear, who couldn't speak, and yet she's famous enough that we are speaking about her right now. She did something with her life, right? So all our time and effort and energy, we can spend in saying, because nowadays when we ask for donation, people we need to raise funds if we want to set up the university. So when we talk to outsiders, then we say, help get donations. So first thing people will start, oh, the economy is so bad. Nowadays, nobody's giving any money. Nobody's giving any money. How do you think we got what we've got so far? So everybody, instead of saying, let me do what I can, they say, oh, it's too tough, it's too difficult, it's this, it's that. Just do what you can. If every one of us did what we can, just imagine where our world will be. We're too external focused. It is called in Vedanta extroversion. My joy comes from you, my sorrow comes from you, my success comes from you, my failure comes from you. Why not look within? When I say you are the cause of my agitation, can I not say, what am I doing that is causing me agitation? That doesn't mean that the other person doesn't have a fault. It doesn't mean that. It means that that person's fault cannot cause me agitation. A simple example is, if you eat too much chilies, I cannot get a stomachache. Can I get a stomach ache because you have eaten so much chilies? If you went out and played in the rain or in the cold, can I get pneumonia? I can't, right? So no matter what you do, I cannot be agitated. You think that's too much to swallow? No, that person did that. How will it be possible? I won't be agitated. Look, take it or leave it. It's a fact. You only explain the fact. Anyone from class can explain the fact. Who can explain the fact? Tell me. How can we prove that nobody's action can cause us trouble but ourselves? Is there anybody new today? All the names see. Nobody's new, right, today? So you're all clear, right? Who is Z61? Is that new? Z61. Do you even know you have given your name as Z61? What? How can you establish, how can you prove that nobody's actions can agitate you in any way or means? How can you prove it?
The only time we get agitated is when our desires are not fulfilled. Our desires come from our own vasanas, so that means all our source of agitation is our own vasanas.
Very good. So everyone's clear in this. Does anyone have a problem, at least intellectually, with this issue? That nobody can agitate you. Get that clear in your head once and for all. Is this clear? Everybody's clear? Abhishek, you're reasonably new. Are you okay with this?
Yeah, I'm okay.
All right. Then, first thing is, if you're agitated, look for the fault with it. All right. So you will find, why am I agitated? I'm agitated. My husband doesn't speak to me. So why am I agitated? Because I have a desire that he should speak to me. If I have no desire that he speak to me, his keeping quiet cannot bother me. My wife doesn't make me tea in the morning. Why does this agitate me? Because I desire that my wife makes tea in the morning. She does not do that, and therefore I'm agitated. Okay, so much should be crystal clear. Because if this much is crystal clear, then we can move forward, which is, I have a wife who doesn't make tea for me in the morning. I would like my wife to make tea for me in the morning. What should I do now? Okay, I'm giving you a silly example because let's take small examples before we try big things. Okay, so what should I do now? What are my options?
Either talk to her and kind of work out a way where she will make me tea in the morning, or I look for a higher desire so that desire wins away.
You'll have to tell us what is that higher desire.
The desire to maintain the relationship.
Okay, desire to maintain the relationship. Okay, fine. What else?
Keep a maid.
Correct. See, all these bachelors know how to deal with all these situations. All the married men are useless. Okay, Pasha, very good. Request her, learn to make tea, leave tea. You have so many options. There are so many options, right? There are so many things. Then why do we nag our wife all the time, make tea, make tea, make tea? Can you not think of other options? You can even make a deal with your wife and say that, okay, you make me tea in the morning and I will make you tea in the evening. Whatever. You can say anything. Life is full of options, right? You can keep a maid, you can give up tea, you can may have some easier system of making tea, such as get the staff to keep it in the fridge at night. Whatever, you have millions of things that you could do. Instead of that, you want to fight. So, when we talk about not getting agitated because of what people do, it doesn't therefore mean that we are horrible people and all our desires must be frustrated. That's not what it means. What it means is that there are so many different ways in which we could approach this. Why don't we try and think of them? All right, so what we have studied is that if we learn to take care of our own minds, the world will take care of itself. This world, which is, like it's such a horrible world we live in, we have this normal concept, oh, these are such terrible times, and those were such good old days, ऐसे तो होता था, वैसे होता था. आजकल तो सब बेकार और useless है. When you start taking care of your own mind, you find that today is just as joyful as yesterday was. People are just as good or just as bad as they always were. There's no difference. Their manifestation has changed. That's all. So once you look after your own mind, the world actually takes care of itself. You don't see the world as a depressing, cynical, pessimistic sort of terrible life. There are many people who went through COVID extremely agitated. And there are many people who went through COVID, generally happy with life. There are many people who had to face extreme difficulties in COVID. There are many people who had nothing, no real difficulty to speak of. All depends on what you have done before. If you had been irresponsible with your finances when COVID strikes, it would have been a financial melee, really. If you had been irresponsible with reference to your health, then health would have been a problem. If you had been irresponsible with reference to your relationships, then relationships would have been a problem. In fact, what was a problem is a good indication of where have I been neglecting things. So once we learn to take care of our own mind, the world is taken care of. The world becomes this beautiful and wonderful place for us to live in. It just appears like, it's great fun to be here. We're having such a great time. When are we going to Maldives? Let's have some fun, that kind of thing. It feels like that to us. So far, so good. All okay so far. Okay. So then the next point is that really when you tell people to behave differently from who or what they are, this is a social, moral, and religious crime. How can you tell the tiger not to be a tiger? If he is not a tiger, what would he be? He has to be a tiger. How can you tell the cow not to be a cow? The cow has to be a cow. The beauty of the cow is that it is a cow. The beauty of the cow cannot be a ferocious, carnivorous nature. It cannot be like that. So, why should we insist on things being, on people, on beings being different from what they are? Isn't it a very mean attitude in life? Suppose you are married to a person who's an extremely lazy person. One girl told me recently, I can't live with my husband. He is completely in inertia. Completely. Like he doesn't do anything. Forget the own money. He doesn't earn money. He doesn't do anything in the house. He doesn't do anything. Complete inertia. And she says, I can't live there. I have to leave. And I have no view on whether she should leave or not leave. But to accuse a person of being what he is, here is a person in inertia. That doesn't mean he's all bad or any such thing. It just means you can't handle his inertia. That's all it means, no? I'm sure that if you did handle his inertia. Means you didn't make a fuss that he was a complete out and out lazy person. He may even do something, occasionally surprising you. But we nag people and we tell them over and over again until they're fed up with us and they push us away. They say, get out from here. I mean, they may or may not say it, but that's how they feel. And then when they feel such dislike towards us, we sense that dislike and we hate them more. I don't know if you heard of this trial of Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. If we listen to what these two seem to have done to each other, and that's a real life example. I mean, it's grateful to them that they can come out in the open and say these things. But actually, this is what attachment does. I will tell you what to do. And if you don't do it, I will treat you in any horrible manner. Do we want to reach that state? We better pull up our socks. Have you noticed yourself ever doing it? That somebody you're attached to, you tell them do something, however justified your desire may be, they don't do it. Then what happens? How that anger builds, how the behavior goes so obnoxious. Like you hear what all happened is like, good Lord. But actually, this is the human condition. This is what the human condition gets reduced to when we are not on the right track. So if you want to be on the right track, please learn this next thing properly. You cannot expect anyone to live in the way that you think is correct. What you can do is adjust your behavior to satisfy whatever demands or desires you may have. So that's what we're going to study now. The first one. Yeah, Bharat.
So when you see a loved one behave stupid over and over again, and you have tried multiple ways of explaining politely, and it still doesn't work, so you just let the situation be then, right?
You can use any method. They say, no, what is this? Something, Sama, Veda, Danda. You shout, you scream, you do whatever you want. But you must know whether that change is possible for that person or not. Cannot expect people to be different from what they are. So if a loved one, suppose let us say that a very dear friend of yours is a huge gambler, and you can see that he is going to just lose all his money and there's going to be nothing left. You can see this. You have told him, you have shouted at him, you have threatened him. It makes no difference in his life. Now what will you do? Now you have to ask yourself, is there anything I can do for him? So maybe you can say, stop talking about the gambling because that he's not going to give up. But you can say, Acha, can you give me a loan of 1 lakh? Suppose you say, for argument's sake. I'm just making all these stories up because I have to give some kind of story. So give me a loan of 1 lakh. Suppose he says, okay, I'll give you a loan. Suppose he agrees to this. Then for his sake, you can invest that 1 lakh somewhere and make sure he's going to lose his money. You know he's going to lose his money. So you have done some backup for him. I'll tell you what happened in my own life. It's bad to give personal examples, but whatever, for what it's worth to you. When I joined the academy, my father realized that this girl is on the wrong track. She is going to get no money and she is going to be starving and poor and she is going to have no way to feed herself. This is what he thought. So what did he do? He didn't tell me don't join the academy. That would have been useless because I'm not going to listen to him. He didn't shout at me or cajole me or whatever. He didn't do any other stuff. So what did he do? He started investing for me. we realized this is a lost hope now. And he didn't tell me anything about it. And then many years later, many years later, he gave me that amount, whatever he had invested. So basically, he was following the rule that there's no point telling somebody to do something they've decided to do. You tell them don't do it, it's not going to stop them. They're going to do it. But then, is there anything I can do? If there is something I can do, then do it. If there is nothing I can do, then that's it. That's that. I cannot run other people's lives. It's not my business to do so. Imagine if those great sages looked at us, they would be horrified at anything we're doing. They don't try to run our lives. They know the mistakes we are making. They keep quiet. Okay?
See, even if I don't improve the situation, it will improve my acting skills.
Yes.
Thank you.
It's not even acting skills. We genuinely are totally accepting of people going wrong. You remember that poem of Oliver Goldsmith where he entertained everybody who was a spent force. The village preacher, his friends were all people who were totally useless. He's not making any attempt to change them because he knows it's a mess. It's already a mess. Now, I don't want to add more trouble to their mess, so I can just be friendly and loving to them. That's it. What else can I do? It's a constant attitude of what's the best I can do. Some people are a lost hope, complete lost hope. Nothing anyone can do. Okay, then what can we give? We can just give them our loving, whatever, loving view of the situation.
Okay, thank you.
Deep Raj, to the degree we expect people to act according to our desires, we view them as a slave, not as an equal. Yeah, that's correct. We view them as somehow subordinate to us. Varsha, what about the pain one feels when we see the friend ruin his life? How do we know when we stop making efforts? What about the pain one feels when we see the friend ruin his life? Varsha, there is no situation, there is no lifetime where there is a possibility that under all situations you will feel happy. There is no such thing. Pain is very much a part of life. And the sooner we get that, the easier it is to move on. You see something terrible happen, you will feel the pain. That's that. There's no getting away from it. There is no situation, there is no lifetime in which pain will not occur. So pain is part of life. If you're alive, pain is part of life. It's how you take the pain in your stride that counts. How do we know when we stop making efforts? Your own discrimination has to tell you. In fact, you have to understand what is that effort. Sometimes the effort is just shutting up. We keep on trying and lecturing to people, not recognizing that if people could change because we tell them to change, then we should be able to change because others tell us to change. No? We can't change when we tell ourselves to change. So they're not listening to our words, forget it. So how do we know when we stop making efforts? It's not that you're stopping the effort. The effort becomes different things. At some point, the effort is learning to live with it. That itself is effort. Okay. So who will read the next? Is everybody fine up to this point? Now we're just going to understand this. Okay, who will read?
I can read. Oh.
Please go ahead.
Everyone understands clearly the natures of all species except that of humans. Consequently, people are able to conduct themselves perfectly with each species. You know exactly how to relate to a tiger and a cow, a cobra and a kitten, a scorpion and a grasshopper, but you fail miserably in your conduct with humans. That is because you do not assess human beings individually. You do not realize that each one's nature is distinct, different from others. Your understanding, behavior, and conduct with humans is alarmingly immature. You commit a colossal blunder when you expect a human to behave different from his particular nature, vasanas. You do not seem to understand that each one helplessly expresses one's own temperament, nature. And when they do and conflict with your expectations, you grumble, you complain, and even express your disappointment overtly. All that causes you the stress and strain of life you suffer. When we deal with animals, we are accurate in our assessment because all animals are the same. But when we interact with humans, we do not assess them individually, and we make a wrong assessment of them and expect them to behave differently from their vasanas. That causes us the stress and strain of life, and we suffer.
Very good. We grumble, we complain, we say, how can you behave like this with me? What do you mean, how can you behave? He just did, right? Then how can he? So simple, no? The idea is, and yet as we grapple with it, it seems impossible. So why is it so difficult? Has anyone got any problem with the idea itself? Idea itself is clear to everyone. Give me a thumbs up if it's clear so that I know it's clear and you all are listening. So idea is very clear. So where's the problem? Where's the problem? Problem somewhere. What's the problem? What's the problem? Do you have a problem with this idea of any type?
Yes, Janki, if someone has a vasana of behaving in a particular way, I may have a vasana of not accepting that. I mean, I can't tolerate it. It's my vasana. So if I can't fight his or her vasana, how can I fight my own vasana?
Other way around, no? You can't fight your own vasana, then why are you trying to fight that person's?
Yeah, so that's the problem. My vasana is not to accept that kind of a behavior.
And we can't change it. And yet, even though it is agitating me, I cannot change it, but still I want the other one. That's the problem. Get your problem statement correct. I have no control over myself. Therefore, I got agitated, right?
Yes.
So, the other person cannot change, that I know already. Why don't I attempt to change myself? But I can't. I mean, it's sometimes too tough. Okay, somebody does something that makes you angry. Can you change yourself and not become angry? Somebody does something that causes you pain. Can you change yourself and not be pained? Somebody causes, I mean, we get so upset, no, with our families, with our friends, with the government, with the circumstances, and we can't change it. It's almost like we are a helpless victim of whatever we're going through. Don't we experience that? Omkar, do we experience that?
Yes, of course. Yes.
Like, I don't want to get angry, but I'm getting angry. I don't want to be hurt by your behavior, but I am getting hurt. I'm a helpless victim of this. If we understand how it is for us and how helpless are we in the face of what we are feeling, should that not make us sympathetic to how others are feeling? I can't control myself. Why am I expecting you to do it? That's why Omkar, whenever we write mails and all, no, we say, would I read this mail and want to go to this event? How do I write something to tell somebody to do something when I myself have no capacity or intention of doing it? Imagine we set up a university so that people study this subject and improve their lives. But I have no intention of studying and improving my life. Does it make any sense? If there is 40 people who are in class today, make that commitment to themselves that I am making this change. I don't know whether anyone else is making it or not. I am doing this. We will change the face of this world because we will have 40 stalwarts here. But no, we are so interested in तुम करो तुम करो तुम करो. मैं क्या करूंगा? कुछ नहीं. मैं तो बैठ के सबको एडवाइस दूंगा क्या करना चाहिए. Do we want a life like that? So, our own inabilities to control our own mind should be an indication to us to be Omkar, to be
sympathetic to others.
Sympathetic, because others are in the same boat. We may want to get up early and study. We may think it's the right thing, but are we doing it? We may want to eat the right food. Are we doing it? We may know we have to exercise on a daily basis. Are we doing it? This strive for us and our failure in doing it is one way of being accepting of others. See our own failure. We fail at a million things on a daily basis. And it's so easy for people to tell us, oh, you should do this and you should do that. Just as easy for us. See something. I have never smoked in my life. I have no interest in smoking. Never have I looked at a cigarette and felt, oh wow, it would be so nice to smoke a cigarette. So therefore, it's very, very easy for me to tell somebody, उसमें क्या रखा है? Right? When I say this, it is my, if I make a statement like this, it will be my what?
Is asympathetic behavior.
It will be my
own experience.
It will be my
ignorance.
My immaturity, correct. Only an immature person tells another person, उसमें क्या रखा है? Because सब चीजों में उसमें क्या रखा है? In everything, there is nothing. The thing that I would like to eat, let us say I would like to eat a chocolate. Okay, somebody else wants to smoke a cigarette. Now, I can look at the person smoking the cigarette and say, smoke cigarette, how horrible. Without registering that I have the same weakness for a chocolate. So when I tell somebody else that you shouldn't do this, it should make me think of all the things that I do, which I shouldn't do. And once I have, that's why there's a story, one mother took her son to a sage and told the sage that this boy is eating too much sugar. Tell him not to eat sugar so much. It's bad for him. So the sage said, okay, I'll tell him, but you come after 1 week. So mother said, okay, fine. She took her son back, and after a week, she came back and told the sage, you tell him, you said you will say after a week, you please tell him not to eat sugar. If you tell him, he will listen. So he said, okay. And he told the boy, beta, itna sugar mat khana. And they both went away. And the boy stopped eating sugar. So his people are asking him, Are, this you could have said last week also. Why did you call them again? He said, last week, I myself could not control eating sugar. So I couldn't say it to the child. So Omkar, I hope that's clear. So we cannot do it. We get irritated by others. We are dissatisfied with the way they're living their lives. We would very much like to change how badly they're doing things and affecting other people. We cannot accept their vasanas for what they are. The problem is in our lack of acceptance, not in them. Clear, no? It's very clear. The question that remains is, now suppose somebody does something that irritates me. I understand that he's not at fault, I am irritated. The question only remains, therefore, is what should I do? So, in some cases, so there are two things you can do. In some cases, you can get that desire fulfilled from other sources. Sometimes in life, you have to gulp and bear it. There are two options you have in life. When you have tried to make a person be different from what they are and they have not been able to change, you can do one of two things. One is fulfill your desire from some other source. Second is gulp and bear it. Everything in life doesn't have to go our way. Get used to that. Okay? Simple. The whole thing is so simple. Deepraj, you want to say something?
No.
All right. Are we good up to this point? Shall we continue?
Janki, I have a question.
Yeah, Naina.
Yeah, suppose that just a very simple example. There are two people. One is very sensitive and one is very sarcastic. So the sarcastic person makes comments with everybody and uses a lot of sarcasm. The sensitive person always feels offended. So is it not right for the sensitive person to request the sarcastic person that your comments are offending me? Could you not, be so sarcastic? So this would help that person to realize his vasana. And this would help the sensitive person to realize that he is too sensitive.
Yeah, sure. We can request anything.
At the same time, not expect him to change.
No, you can do whatever in the world you want to make the other person change. The important thing to realize is that, okay, suppose now I tell my husband that, in front of all your friends, you said this to me, I don't like it, and please don't talk like this. All right? Then if my husband is a accommodating person, he'll say, oh, I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have spoken like this. Or you are too sensitive. But in any case, I will not speak like this. And we are good. This doesn't happen again. Okay? Now, this is one scenario. Another scenario is he will turn around to me and say, you say I shouldn't say about this. What about you said that day to that person? Okay? And basically, in other words, he will try to deny my pain and establish he is in greater pain or in greater inconvenience or whatever, and not change. These are the two things that can happen, right? Now, if you can request and your request is granted, then we are all good. Then we don't have a problem. The problem arises is when you are requesting and the request is not granted. Now, that's what we are discussing at the moment. So if the person will listen to you and not be sarcastic, very good. or not be sensitive, whichever side you're on. Not be sensitive, very good. The other person can turn around and say, no, then you try to be not so sensitive. हर चीज में रोने की जरूरत क्या होती है? Turn around and say that. So it's not telling you not to take action or a corrective action. It's telling you when your corrective action doesn't work, there are other options.
So that's what I'm thinking, Jankishi, that he should make the attempt and still not expect the result, the fruit of the action. But he should make that attempt. With
But
giving up.
There are some people where I already know telling that person will be absolutely pointless. So how can you make a rule that he should tell that person? You can't make that rule. He may tell or he may not tell, depending on his understanding of that situation. Okay or not?
I have to think about this, Jankishi.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So shall we?
I have a question.
Yeah, Omkar.
Let's say there are people whose behavior of certain kinds don't, I mean, you can't accept, and you know you can't change them, nor can you change yourself, at least in the near future, with regard to that particular kind of a behavior. Staying away from them is another way of being unaccepting also, right? I mean, if you stay away, you maintain peace, but you're still not accepting that person.
Staying away is a good idea from people. See, not everybody we need to be with. Some people we are better off not being with. But in any case, we must learn to maintain a working relationship with everybody. It's not just that you're staying away and, in Padda and refuse to speak to that person. You're staying away, but maintaining a working relationship as and when necessary. Now, even this will work under some conditions, because if there's something about your wife or your child or your mother or your father or your sister or your brother, now how much are you going to be able to stay away? It's not workable. So in such cases, it's better if you defocus from that which is irritating you and focus on that which is good. Because everybody has good and bad. So if I have to stay with you, I might as well see what's good in you. I cannot accept bad, I cannot, but I can accept the whole person, right? Okay, let's say that Omkar, you are very, let's say you're very negligent. Just making this up, okay? Omkar, poor fellow, is not negligent, but I'm just making it up. Suppose you're very negligent, and I can't bear this about you, that you're a negligent person. So, but I can say, oh, but Omkar, he's so service oriented. He does so much. I can concentrate on that, right? I don't have to go on. He's so negligent. He's so negligent. He's so negligent. So defocus from negative, focus on positive. These are various ways of dealing with it. But the most important is recognizing that each person functions by his vasanas. Get that in our head. Come hell or high water. Is that okay, Omkar?
Yes. Thank you.
All right. Who will read the next? Somebody had also said, no, with the Praj. Varsha, you had said? What happened? Why are you all always resistant to reading?
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
You do not seem to understand that each one helplessly expresses.
Varsha, he'd already read that.
Oh, yeah, I did it. Yeah, you suffer. You understand the nature of all other beings and conduct yourself rightly. You must apply the same principle to humans as well. Recognize their individual natures and let them live their own lives. You then find peace and harmony with humans. Remember, all grumbling is tantamount to, oh, why is the lily not an oak? Oh, read the next.
No.
Yeah. Each human being is as different as each animal species is different from each other. So when dealing with them, we have to understand them. Otherwise, we will be expecting a chair to be a table or lily to be an oak.
Very good. Simple, no? Any questions? Why is a lily not an oak? Why is a hot-tempered person not Rama? Why is Ravana not Krishna? Why is Krishna not Sudama? Why is Sudama not Gopichand Jasus? Is there any meaning in all of this? Why don't we enjoy everybody for what they are? Each one, each one is like a flower in the garden, no? Each flower is different. The plant is different. The thorns are different. Their ways are different. The rose is so pretty. It has so much fragrance and it has the thorn. The lily is so exquisite in its beauty, but it's very, very delicate, very fragile. You can't tell the lily, why are you not sturdy like a cacti? You don't talk like that, no? Why do you do that? Will you tell Bharat not to go to the gym?
God help that person.
Yeah, I know, at your own risk if you do that. Yes, Momita, you be you and I be me. Even in the religious field, you will notice that people all try to be like their teachers. So if there's a teacher with long hair and long beard and things like that, you'll find the students also long hair, long beard. If there's a clean-shaven teacher, then you'll have clean-shaven students. So we always try to emulate like the personality or dislike, get away from the personality. But every personality is beautiful in its own way. Emerson writes about the mountain and the squirrel. If I cannot carry, the squirrel tells the mountain. If I cannot carry mountains, if I cannot carry forests on my back, neither can you, Mr. Mountain, crack a nut. Each one has their own unique talent, their own unique ability, their own unique self. Why can we not celebrate that? Why are we to sit in judgment of that? Varsha is what she is. Bharat is what he is. Jaya is what she is. Elsie is what she is. Each one is a beautiful flower in our garden. Why don't we enjoy that? Instead of saying, Varsha, why don't you go to the gym? Bharat, why don't you look after children? I mean, what is the point of all this?
Janki, I can appreciate the ferocity of a tiger, but I can't accept the irritation of a mosquito because that mosquito comes and bites me.
You won't accept the ferocity of the tiger if he's biting you also. That's the whole point.
No, but you're coming and disturbing me. I mean, and am I supposed to say that's your Vasana, come and disturb me?
No,
You're not
no.
letting me sleep.
Okay, so you can swat the mosquito. You can make sure your windows are not open during twilight hours. You can put on, what is this, good night. You take whatever action you want, but why are you getting agitated? What does the Americans say? They say, don't get mad, get even. You take now whatever action you want. Krishna doesn't say that, oh, Duryodhana, he is agitating me, what can I do? This is the talk of Yudhishthira, not of Krishna. Krishna will take action. If and when action is necessary, please take it.
Okay, so the point here is that, I mean, you take action, but don't, I mean, you also understand that the person is behaving from his or her Vasana. Take the action, but don't lose your cool. Is that the message, I mean?
Yeah, I mean, hate the sin, not the sinner. Same concept. Don't hate the person. Why are you hating the person? Keep your love for the person going. But yes, that person has got negativity. And hello, don't we? So we don't have to sit in judgment and, I have to deal with all you guys. Like, I have negativity, you have negativity, and I have positivity, and you have positivity. And let's put all our positivity and, do something useful in this world. I mean, how you're dealing with it is a matter of your personal attitude to that. Suppose, as we work, all of us as we work, each one of us has got some good qualities and some negative qualities. Now, we sort of escape each other's negative qualities and use all the positive qualities to take the work forward. That's exactly what you do with life. The moral of this story is each one has his or her own vasanas. What you do about it is your business. But the moral of this story is each one has his own vasanas. The more a positive twist you can give to it, the happier you will be. Okay?
Yes, thanks.
Priya B. How to improve our assessment of people? I know morning study, but any other tips? Sorry, Priya. Morning study is the way, because how do we improve assessment? Assessment means intellect works. How does intellect work? Because it's there, it's developed. Otherwise, how will it work? Now, how do you develop it? You study in the morning. But other tips are, try to be objective in life. Try to be objective means try all the time to see something as it is and where it is, instead of bringing your own personality into it. Instead of saying that person is so irritating, why not say that, suppose I say, Omkar is so irritating. Then instead of saying that, say, Omkar comes so late, Omkar, whatever. So that you're making a statement of fact and not a subjective statement. You were not there, right? When we were studying clearer thinking, we studied that. For all those who studied clearer thinking, remember? Evaluative statements versus descriptive statements. You remember? Evaluative means she is short. Descriptive is she is 5 feet tall. So why don't you say she's 5 feet tall instead of saying she's short? Because when you say she's short, you're saying you're adding some kind of coloration into this thing. So better to be as objective as possible. So that's your other thing. That means even simple things, in this room, there is a table, there is a sofa, there is a laptop. See things for what they are. all the time making some judgment. And that's what spoils our life. Just as is, where is. Does that help, Priya?
Yes, thank you. So in our inference, that's where we go wrong, when we infer.
Yeah, and because we make an inference where none is required.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you.
Bharat, when can we say that one has rightly assessed a person, since people are mysterious and assessing is bound to take time? Also, the quality of my assessment depends on the quality of my intellect. A mediocre one will assess poorly. Good question, Bharat. The thing is, you have to just very carefully read what you have just written. When can we say that one has rightly assessed a person, since people are mysterious and assessing is bound to take time? Just very carefully read that. So your first way of knowing whether you have done it properly is, have you given that person enough time? Your answer is in the question. Bharat, you're way smarter than you think you are. So first, understand that my assessment may be incomplete. Have I given it enough time? Am I assessing things that I ought not to be assessing? For instance, this whole class has assessed that Bharat goes to the gym. Now, we don't need to make further assessment. Why does Bharat go to the gym? Is he wanting to become Mr. Universe? What is his thing? All nonsense. Bharat goes to the gym. So please do not call him or deal with him in his gym times. That's all that's required. It's pretty superficial, really. We try to go inside a person and try to say, oh, he does this for this reason, and some we will create out of this whole assessment. Bharat goes to the gym. तो मेरा उससे क्या लेना देना? Have I got to do with why he goes to the gym? उसको क्या हुआ जिंदगी में कि वो जिम में जाने लगा? All that's all useless. I just need to know Bharat goes to the gym from this time to this time. If I want something from him, I should not deal with him from this time to this time. I know Bharat goes to class, so if I want something for him, then I should not deal with him from this time to this time. That's all that's required. And so when you're living with people, you know what your mother's like, you know what your father's like, you know what your sister's like. Everybody knows this much. Also, the quality of my assessment depends on the quality of my intellect. A mediocre one will assess poorly. True. All of us have mediocre intellects. So our assessment is bound to fail. So take it easy. Don't try to assess things that we should not be trying to assess in people. We should not assess how is Jaya's marriage. What have we to do with how is Jaya's marriage? None of my business. We don't even know whether Jaya is married or not. I don't need to go there. What do we need to know? Jaya attends class. This is okay, because then, since she attends class, maybe X, Y, or Z. Whatever you want to deal with her for whatever reason. Is that okay?
Ji, thank you.
A lot of the time our assessment is on things we need not assess at all. Yeah, somebody was saying something.
Jankesh, I just wanted to add to that, like where Bharat was saying that how do you know if you've assessed somebody properly? If you're doing it right, then as said in, I think it was written in your book, where the experience will teach you something. So if that experience stops happening, that means you've learned what you need to learn from that experience. So if you have assessed people properly, then that situation will not arise again where you will have to judge them again if you have appropriately reacted to that situation.
What the book said, if I remember correctly, is that if your assessment whenever you do any right thinking, the result of that right thinking always has to be correct. Come on now, who has read the book? Has anybody ever read the book? The result of right thinking is always right. One word.
Action.
What?
Action.
Right. That's not incorrect, but
Right outcome.
Can you say that in a better way? Outcome assumes an action, right? So you're sort of close, but can you say it in a better way?
Expected result.
Yes. Right
Harmony.
thinking. Huh?
Result is always harmony with other person.
Right thinking, that harmony or not may not be relevant in that in any particular situation. Right thinking is demonstrated by right prediction. Suppose you have right thinking that a certain teacher always starts the class on time. Then, and if your assessment is correct, what will happen? You can predict that.
What time do you have to be there?
Yeah, the next class will start on time. And if your prediction is correct, your assessment was correct. So that's the way of knowing it. So then Naim will say, then why didn't you say it? Why did you not let us know in the first place? Because there is a thinking error that you will fall for if you do these kind of things, which is no matter what happens, you will claim that. Basically, remember the concept where whatever your thinking is, whatever you experience will justify that thinking. So there's a problem in that. Therefore, it wasn't given as a solution. We studied that in Jira thinking. I hope you remember. Okay, so that's it for today. Hari Om.